computer. ठीक है, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So in previous sessions, we were talking about life cycle hooks. We went through constructor connected callback and rendered callback. We went through these three methods, and we we also saw how the flow are working, how these methods are getting called, in which order, and what are the features of these methods, and what we can do and what we cannot do in these methods. So we saw that. Now there are three methods left: render, disconnected callback, and error callback. So in this session, we will talk about these three methods. After that, we will talk about variables, properties, getter, and setter. And these are very basic things. If you understand variables, if you see, I will ask questions. If I ask what is difference between variable and property, do you have any answer? So we'll come to that part also. So you are saying variables, you are teaching variables, it's very basic things, but you will get confused in variables and properties. If I will teach variables versus property, you will get confused. How that it works? How in at what time property we can use property, and what time we can use variables only. Sometimes properties and variables are same. Means we can use we can interchange each other, right? But there is slightly difference between variables and properties also. So we'll talk about this also. So first of all, we'll talk about disconnected callback. We'll see render in the last. We talk about disconnected callback. So these three methods, constructor, connected callback, rendered callback, are called you can understand it's a mounting phase. Mounting phase means component creation phase. During component creation phase, these components are these methods get called. But disconnected callback, I have written here unmounting phase, means removal phase. Means when we are removing this, when we are hiding the component from the DOM, then this method get called. So that's why it is called unmounting phase or removal phase. So we'll talk about disconnected callback. Means if we have to perform some logics when we are removing the component from the DOM, disconnected we can make use of disconnected callback method also, right? So what is disconnected callback? It gets invoked automatically when the corresponding web component gets removed from DOM, right? Means just understand, we are trying to remove, so hide. For example, there are so many components on the screen, and we are hiding some component. Means we are removing we are removing component from the screen, means DOM. And while removing the component from the DOM, we want to perform some operations. So where we can do that? So we can do in disconnected callback method. I have written here, if we need to perform any logic when the component is removed from the DOM, that logic can be added in disconnected callback. And what we can do in disconnected callback? We use disconnected callback to remove cache or removing event listeners that are created on connected callback. Means we'll talk later about event listeners. What is event listener? Just to understand there, we can do some purging of caches. Means event listeners means event listeners runs on the browser. So whatever we set whatever we set the listener on the browser, we can remove from the disconnected callback. Means to clean the data, to clear the cache, all the logics can be written in disconnected callback here. So let's get into the component. parent.html. Okay. So if you see this component, parent, I have made parent component, right? Here, this is the template. Inside the template, I have written, hello, I am parent. And there, and here I have called one child component, child one. We have seen this component during the previous sessions when I was showing the constructor methods, right? Connected callback method. So simple. Ignore this template if true. I will let you know what is this. But yeah, I am calling one child component inside this parent component, right? And in the JS file, I have written all the methods of lifecycle hook: connected callback, rendered callback, disconnected callback. I have written 2 times, no issues. Error callback, and there is another handler method, handle button click. So what I want to show here, I have made 2 buttons here: show child and hide child. And on the click of show child button, what I am doing, I have created one variable show child, and on the click of this button, I am toggling this. For example, the default value is false, so child false. So whenever I click the button here from here, so child, and this is the method handle button click, this variable will get true or false. Now it is false. I am assigning with exclamation not, means it will convert into true. Whenever I click, then click again, it will become false, means toggle will work. So true and false. To understand this better, what I can do, I can directly assign true, and then if I can check if this is true, then make it false. So I have written directly like this. Means this is called toggling. Means I am making this variable false true with this notation. So this component is here. Hello, I am a parent. Hello, right? Now you can see the button show child. So what I have done on show child, I am rendering using if false and if true. So I will come later this on this right on this part. But yeah, lightning button I am showing show child, means whenever show child value is false, this button will show. Whenever show child value is true, this button will show. Means if show child is false, the show child button will be shown, right? Whenever the show child is true, hide child button will be true. For example, I am clicking show child. So you can see that the button, the child one component get displayed, and now hide child is getting this got hide, and now this is displaying. Now we can see the let me show you once again. Hide child component disconnected callback call. Let me come later here. Clear console. Show child. I am clicking show child, and if you see the execution of the flow, child one constructor called, child one connected callback method called. Ignore this, I have made here error. Child one rendered callback method called, then parent rendered callback method called. We have already seen this, how these methods getting called. First constructor connected callback, then child component, then rendered callback. After child get rendered, then parent rendered callback method call. Now I am removing this child component from the DOM, hide child. So I have made alert here, child component disconnected callback called. And if you see the log here, child one disconnected callback method called, and after that again parent rendered callback method called. If you remember the previous session, rendered callback execute from child to parent, means whenever there is a whenever there is a rendering on the component, the flow from child to parent. So here what I have done, I have removed the child. So the component, this screen will get re-render again. Means re-render again means parent rendered callback also called here. Are you getting this, or there is some confusion? Did you get this point or not?
एक बार फिर से explain कर दीजिए इसको. Can you explain it one more time?
Okay. Let me start from beginning. So let understand first. I am repeating again connected callback, constructor, rendered callback. Then you see. So this is a parent. This is a parent component. Forget about the child component as of now. This is a parent component. Here I am displaying only hello. I am parent, right? And there is a variable greeting which get binded on the screen. So just assume that this is a parent component. So if you see the console here, if you see the console and the sequence of the methods, parent constructor called, parent connected callback method called, parent rendered callback method called, right? This is the, if there is only one component, right, the flow, the execution of these methods happens in this sequence. First constructor get called, then connected callback method called, then rendered callback method called. Since there is a one child component, it is not display as of now. I have it will display on the basis of this value. So child, it is not displayed. So the life cycle hook of this component did not run at this time. But whenever I click on show child, there is a button show child, and I am on the click of button, and handler, event handler is getting called, right? One method is getting called, handle button click. So what I am doing in this method, I am just toggling this value, so child. If it is false, it will make true. If it is true, it will make false. Means so hide. I am doing so hide. So now this variable, this property is false. When I click show child, then this component will come into the picture on the DOM, right? I am clicking show child. So then again, if you see the execution of these methods, child one constructor called, child one connected callback method called, child one rendered callback method called, right? Same execution. Then again, if you see parent rendered callback method called. Why? Because on this component, child component rendered, right? Child component rendered means once again parent component will also rendered. That's why parent rendered callback also called.
कनेक्टेड कॉल बैक कॉल नहीं होगा इस पेरेंट का.
Parent, no. Just rendered callback called, right?
That was already called before.
Sorry?
वो तो ऑलरेडी कॉल हो गया था ना
It
parent.
get called again.
हाँ ये I mean parent render callback called at the end once the child part is over.
Right. So we already talked about these things in
Last
previous
session.
session, right?
Right.
If you remember. So if you remember, first constructor will get called, then connected callback, then rendered callback. Then if there is a, for example, let me load this plane. There is no condition. So both parent and child content will be displayed. Then you understand it better. Sorry. So now, so parent component content are also displayed and child one component are also displayed. Now see the sequence of the life cycle hook methods. Clear? See here. Parent constructor called, parent connected callback method called. But parent rendered callback method did not get called here. Why? Because there is a child one component also there. It was also loading. So first child component life cycle hook will run. So child one constructor called, child one connected callback method called, then child one rendered callback method called, then parent rendered callback method called. Means if you remember, constructor and connected callback runs from parent to child, and rendered callback runs from child to parent. So after parent connected callback method call, then child one constructor call, means the life cycle of child component started. Once this get completed, then parent rendered callback method will call. Right? Understood this point?
Yeah.
Now I am doing this logic because I have to use show hide. Means disconnected callback will only run when we remove the component from the DOM. Means when we, for example, when we remove this component from the DOM, this component also re-render again. And when it re-render again, parent rendered callback also will call, right? Let's see. So now if you see parent constructor called, parent connected callback method called, parent rendered callback method call, right? Because child component is not in the picture. That's why child component life cycle did not start. Now I am clicking on show child. When I click on show child, child component will come into the picture. Then if you see child one constructor called, child one connected callback method called, child one rendered callback method called, then again parent rendered callback method called. So when when child one component get loaded, right, then the whole component will re-render. And if the whole component is getting re-rendered, parent component rendered callback method will also get called. So that's why parent rendered callback method called. Now I am removing this component from the DOM. Now what happens? If you remove the component from the DOM, disconnected method will get called. So if you see here, child one disconnected method get called, then parent rendered callback method called. right? Because if we are removing any component from the DOM, whole component will get refreshed, whole component will get re-rendered, and then in this case, parent rendered callback method also get called, right? Understood this point?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone, Swapnil, Irfan, Akshay, understood this?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
understood.
Okay. And this is where I am saying this is very basic things. If you understand it correctly, you can implement any logic. You can implement any logic here. So now uh, we have talked about 4 methods. Constructor, connected callback, right? Rendered callback and disconnected callback. Now there is one method, error callback. So basically, if you talk about error callback, basically error callback captures error in all the child components. For example, if you want to show any generic error, for example, example on a component, and there is a component, and inside the component there are so many components, and if any one of the component has the error, parent component will catch those errors, and whatever logic you want to implement, you can implement in error callback. So let's see this example also, error callback in the same. So what I am doing, so in child1 JS file, and during the component creation, I am explicitly throwing the error. But scenario can be anything. At the runtime, if you have written so many logics, right? We are calling the apex data, whatever logics we are performing, that logics can give exception, right? And whenever the logic give exception, we want to catch those errors. So I'm not doing any logic here. I am explicitly throwing the error. During this component load, there is one error. For example, during this component load, I am fetching data from the Salesforce. I am fetching data from the Apex. And during the during fetching of data, there is some exception. So I'm not performing those logics here right now. I am just throwing explicitly exception. Now see. I'll make you understand after running this. Let me comment this code. Yeah, so let me repeat once again. So if there is a parent component, parent.html. Inside the parent component, I have one component, child1, right? I'm displaying child1, and let me remove this conditional show hide also. So inside the child1 component, during the creation of this child component, I'm throwing an error. So let's see what is happening. So if you see here, loading of child component failed. So where I have written this, here I have written loading of child component failed. So during this child1 component in connected callback, during the creation, the error is I have thrown this error, and the message is coming. And where I have captured this, if you see the parent.js file, error callback, it takes two parameters, error and stack. Error is an object and stack is just a string. Error means ki error store all the messages of means whatever there is error it stores, right? And a stack means it will tell ki what is the stack of from where this error got occurred, right? So if you see here, C parent, C child one, it is saying ki C child one, it is giving the stack trace. Here I have console.log error.message and console.log stack. So first console.log error message it is showing error.message loading of child component failed, and stack trace is key from which component, what is the stack, C parent, C child one. So basis on this, we can capture the error, and whatever logics we want to implement here, we can implement, and give a error message, give a toast message. So we'll learn about this later. But yeah, just remember error callback is used to capture the errors inside the parent component of its child components. Means the error is thrown from the child components, we can capture in the parent component in error callback. So if I show you the error, what is the error? So I'm showing you. Where it is showing loading of child component failed. Stack trace, it will show. So here I have explicit, means I have not handled this error, right? From the handler method, I have also thrown the error just to show you how the exception is coming, right? So we can handle here I have printed only console. Here you can write logic to show toast message, right? Ki this error is coming in the from the child and due to this reason. So here we can do our custom logic here. So error callback is used for this. Render. So basically to understand render, let's understand the directives. We are already familiar with the directives, but yeah, let's see what is the directive. So a directive is a special attribute that adds dynamic behavior to an HTML template. The LWC programming model has few custom directives that let us manipulate the DOM using markup. Means if we want to display content on the basis of some conditions, we can make use of directives. So there are two special directives, if true and if false. If true and if false. We are already seeing this example. So if we want to display some content on the basis of some condition, we can make use of directives. And what directives are present in the LWC? It is if true and if false. And what is the syntax? Template if true expression. Here it will be expression, and expression we'll talk about this when we talk about the variables. Expression render when expression is true. So this section will render when this expression will be true. This section will render when this expression will be false. If true, if false. We are already seeing in this example. So if false, if true. Means if show child is false, this button will be visible. Which button? Show child. If show child is true, this button will be visible. Which button? Hide child. See, this is called directives. And what is the expression here? We are binding this variable. Basically, to bind variable on HTML template, we bind variables between the curly braces. So show child is the expression, and expressions must be valid expressions. So what is valid expressions? We will talk later. So we are talking about directives. So directives are used to show conditional rendering, are used to show conditional content based on some business logics, based on some conditions. For example, there you have to show one form on the basis of some condition. You have to show another form on the basis of condition. Means you have to show some HTML content on the basis of some condition, and on the basis of other condition you have to show another HTML. So if we can make use of directives. Understood this point? Any question here?
No, sir.
Sorry.
No, sir, clear.
Okay, clear. So the question here is कि render method does the same, but why we use render when we will use render? So render is a method that tells the component which template to load based on some logics and conditions. Means render method does the same. If you want to show conditional template rendering, we can use render method. But if there is already directives present, why we use render method? Let's see the scenario. So basically, the render method is not technically life cycle. It is a method of Lightning element class, which basically, if you see Lightning, all these methods are of Lightning element class. So basically, if you talk about render method, it's not a life cycle hook method. And what render method does, it will always return the template reference. Template means just understand the template means what will template contain, and HTML content. Template means HTML content, and whatever the contents in the HTML, right? So it will return template. And it may be called before or after the connected callback. We will see this. So whenever when we can use render method, whenever we have scenario in which we have some same business logic, but we want to render a component with more than one look and feel. For example, let talk that scenario कि on the basis of you have same business logic, but on the basis of some condition you want to show one form, and you want to show same form with another look and feel. So what we can do in the same component also, we can do in the same component also, but by use of render method, what we can do, we can keep separate HTML files. We can keep separate template files, and on the basis of conditions, we can show each template file. So in this way, we can keep the code also clean. We can separate our HTML files also. So that will be also that will be also a good thing. For example, on the basis of condition, you are displaying multiple forms. So what we can do, we can use the same file also we can put all the HTML code in the same component and make use of if true false, right? This directive also means here I have written one HTML, all the HTML content with some CS with styling. And here we can also HTML content with some other styling. We can also do that. But to make the code clean, we can separate the file. So one benefit of render method is also we can keep its HTML file separate and call that HTML file on the basis of some condition. Let's see how. So I have made a component render example. Right? You are already now aware about how the HTML file looks. Right? First tag is template, then inside the template, we write the HTML content, right? So template, there is a lightning card, which is a lightning based component, right? And inside the lightning card, I have written this is default template, and there are 3 buttons. I have created 3 buttons, 1, 2, and default. The label is 1. For second button, the label is 2, and the third button, the label is default. And I am calling the same method on these button clicks, handle button click. Now let's come into JS file. So if you see here, I am importing 2 HTML file. And where is these 2 HTML files I have created here? Template 1 HTML, template 2 HTML inside this folder only. So we can create n number of HTML file also. So here I have created template 1 HTML. I have written this is template 1. And there is template 2. I have written this is template 2. So there are 2 HTML file where I am importing this render example. This is a lightning web component, right? Render example. And inside this lightning web component, there must be a render example HTML file. That is for sure, right? For example, if you see all the components, for example, parent, there must be parent.html. So here also in render example, there must be a render example.html. Means if you remember about the LWC folder structure, there must be 3 files: HTML, JS, and meta XML. So these 3 are there: render example.html, render example.js, and render example JS meta file. But what I have done, I have created 2 more HTML file inside this folder: template 1, template 2. Here I have written simple, this is template 2, right? And template 1. Whatever we write here, right? Whatever according to our business logic, according to our requirement, we can make a complex HTML design inside this form, right? So I have just written this is a template 1, this is a template 2. Here I have imported this. If you remember the JavaScript class, how to import files from, right? How to import files, we can make use of /template1.html, and it will what it will return? HTML reference, template reference, and where I am storing template 1. I am storing in template 1. Now template 2 is I am importing template 2 HTML. Where I am storing in template 2. Means I am importing this HTML file and I am storing this reference in template 1. I am importing template 2 HTML file and I am storing in this template 2. Just treat like this a variable, right? Importing, and where I am storing template 2. And if you see the last line, import default template from iska reference. I have taken this reference, rendered example.html, means this file, and this file is a default template. So I have kept 3 reference two another HTML file and one same HTML file. And now come to this. And I have created three buttons, 1, 2, and default. And inside the render method, I have written this logic. Let's understand this. I have created one variable. I will come to the variable part. Just remember, this is a variable. We already know what is variable. Variable is used to store data, right? So show template. I have created show template. And inside the render method, I have returned if this dot show template triple equals 1, then template 1. Then it will return template 1. If this is a ternary operator. We can make use of if else also. If this dot show template equal to 1, return template 1. Else if this dot show template equal to 2, then return template 2. Otherwise, return default template. So I have written in one line by making use of ternary operator. Ternary operator you all know. Here is the condition. After that, integrative sign. If this is true, this value will come. If this will not true, then again else part I have put the condition. If this is true, the value will be template 2. Otherwise, value will be default template. Just visualize the if else statement. And how we are assigning the value into show template variable in this method, handle button click. And we are calling handle button click on the click of every button, 1, 2, and default. And what this button is doing, what this method is doing, it is assigning the label of the button 1 to default in this variable. So for example, if I click on 1, the show template variable will contain 1. If I click on 2, the show template button will contain 2. If I click default, this will contain default. And when the variable gets changed, render method called automatically. Let's see. Let's make use of alert so that we don't need to go to the console. We can directly alert. Render method called. Make this alert also so that we can keep eye on how these methods are getting called. This is rendered callback method called. I am removing through connected callback called. Constructor method called. Right, constructor, connected callback, rendered callback, render, right? We are right. Let's see the sequence here also. Render example, I have made this here. So let's see the sequence. First, constructor method called, connected callback method called, render method called, right? So if you see this line I have written, maybe after, we don't know the sequence, but yeah, sometime it may run before connected callback or after connected callback. But most of the time it will run after connected callback only. Render method called, then rendered callback method called. Now if you see, the component is now on the screen. And why? This is default template, means which if I go to the HTML file, this is getting displayed, means this show template has value default. Why default? On the load, I am not assigning anything. On connected callback, I have not assigned anything. So means it does not have one, it does not have two value. So that's why render method is returning default template. And what is default template? This one. It is returning default template because so template variable does not have these values, either one or either two. If it has one value, it will return template one. And what is template one? This means template one HTML. If it has two value, it will return template two. But on the load, if I print this, let's print this also. Alert. Means on the, we are not assigning anything in the show template, right? We have not assigned anything. So it will show blank or undefined. It will show undefined. Let constructor, you can see undefined, right? The value I have printed here after undefined. Connected render callback method. So now this show template variable has undefined value. So according to this condition, render method will return default template. As you remember, render method returns the template reference, right? So I am returning the template reference from here. And what template reference, what will be the value of the template reference here? Default template, because it will not go into this condition. So by default, it is returning default template. That's why this is default template, means parent. You can see the default, this HTML content is getting displayed. Now see I am clicking on one. Then again render method called. Why render method called? Can you any of you can tell why render method called? Why? On click of one, what I am doing? On click of button, I have called this method. And assigning, what will be the value here now? 1. In the show template variable, the value will be now 1. But why render method called? I have not called render method. On the button, I call this method handle button click, right? And I have changed this value of this variable to button level. And what is the level of the button? 1. But why render method get called? Can anyone guess? Why?
This dot show template one है इसलिए सर.
सॉरी अक्षय, एक बार फिर से रिपीट करो आप.
वो शो टेम्पलेट में वैल्यू 1 है, सो रेंडर्ड में हम दिस डॉट शो टेम्पलेट 1 है, तो इसलिए वो कॉलर है.
ओके, यू आर सो क्लोज. So just remember one thing. Whenever we change the value of the variable and that variable is binded on the HTML, the component re-renders the component re-render. I have binded this, sorry. Let me want to default. Let me, no. Let me repeat once again this. Render callback, alert render callback method called show template. Let's come to this template one.html. Can Irfan, can you tell why render method called?
Sir, because I think re-render will call again. That's the reason.
Okay. Let me show you. Let me repeat this example once again. Then you can. So I am clicking on one and clicking of this button. I am calling one method, handle button click. I am calling one method, handle button click. And in handle button click, I am changing the variable value. When I change the value of the variable, render method is getting called. And let's see, render method called means whenever we change the value of that property, render method called. And on the basis of render method called, rendered callback method also get called. So let's see, rendered callback method called, because the component gets re-render again. Now you can see this is template one, means this template is getting displayed now. This template is getting displayed now. Means now the render method has returned template one reference. It has returned template one reference. Now I'm clicking on previous. So previous, where I have made previous, because this template file in the same, you can see that the same component, template HTML template, right? What you can do that we can make a separate component also and so do the show hide. But for that we have to create an event, then pass the data, will come later. What we have done, we have kept this 2 HTML file on the same component along with the parent HTML file, the same HTML. You can see that. So here I have previous. Here I have also made a button previous and calling the same method, because it is if you see that handle button click, it will call that this JS file button, this JS file event also. As of now, we know key render example.html, there is one HTML file, and on this HTML file, if there is a event, it get called the JS file. But if there is another HTML file, we can call the JS method from that HTML file also, right? So here I am clicking previous and calling the same method. So on the previous, if I click on previous, again render method called, and now it will show default template. Why? Because show template value does not have one, does not have two. What will be the value? Previous, because show template is capturing the button level. So now it has value previous. So it will still go into default template. The render method will return default template. Now I'm clicking on 2. render method called, render callback method called. Now this is template 2. Now here I am doing previous. Now render method called, render callback method called. This is default template. So we can make use of render method like this. However, we can make use of if true, if false directive also. But if there are complex form, complex HTML, we want to keep separate HTML file, so we can make use of render method also. There are two benefits. The code can be clean. We can make separate HTML file, and another benefit will be if we do so hide using if true, you can see that the HTML file is still in the behind the DOM, means they take the space also. So using render method, we can take these two benefits also. Hope you understand render method. I hope it is new to, I hope Irfan, did you use in any LWC component render method?
Not used before.
Yeah, so now you know ki how you can use if you face the scenario where you have to implement things like like this. So you can make use of render. And currently, what we do, we make use of we make use of if true directive, right? We make use of, for example, in this I put some HTML component, right? We can put some HTML content here. Then another, I will create another template if true. Then I will put what will let me show. I will. This is template 1. So on the, by making use of if true, if false, we can we can do like also. But if there is a complex HTML file, right? If there is a requirement ki this HTML content should have different look and feel, and this HTML content should have different look and feel, but has the same component. You can make use of a separate HTML file. We can do in the same file also, but there will be so many back and forth to change the style, and all the code will be in the same file also, right? So we can make separate file and separate, if we are keeping separate file, it is easy to maintain also. Okay, I hope it is clear. Any question till now?
No, sir, it is clear.
Okay. Anil sir, any question?
No, sir, clear, sir.
Okay. Okay. So now we have talked about all the life cycle hooks. Now we are clear about the flow of the life cycle hooks, the sequence, how these methods run, sequence, what in which sequence these methods run, what are the features of these methods, what we can do, what we cannot do. So we now know all the features of these methods. Now whenever we get the scenario in real life, right, in your live projects, you'll make use, you will be able to decide कि I can make use of this, I can make use of this. People talk about कि real time real life scenario, will you do will also do real time projects, we will also provide real time projects. But my focus is only on that basics things. If you are clear about basics, you can do anything. So I hope if you, but if you don't practice these things, you have to practice these things by yourself. then you will be clear. Sometimes I also get confused how how the things are running. I also do practice a lot of time. Then I am clear, because as a developer, currently I'm not a developer. I'm not doing development since last 6 months. I have a role of technical lead, but I do practice. I don't keep out, means मैं अपने आप को डेवलपमेंट से दूर नहीं रखना चाहता हूँ, तो मैं प्रैक्टिस करते रहना चाहता हूँ. So if you don't do practice, LWC will be very tough. If you do practice, LWC is very easy. Means, and I have learned LWC by myself only. Why? Because I know the basics. No one has taught me LWC. I have learned LWC by myself only. So this why? Because the basic things are clear for me, right? So let's go to variables and properties. Okay. So we already know what is variable. A class, if you see, let's get into the example of variables, then we talk. So now we are clear about LWC folder structure. This is HTML file, this is JS file and meta XML file. Inside the JS file, if you see, this is a class track test, right? What class track test, and inside the class we already know we can make variables, properties or functions, right? If right, this is basics, this is clear to all of us. Inside the class we can create variables, properties and functions also, and inside the variables, properties, we store the data. So it depends upon the type of the variable. What is the data type of the variable? We can store data according to the data type of the variable, right? But is there any difference between variables and properties? Can anyone tell? Is there any difference between variables and properties? Are these two same or different? Is anyone? I think.
Properties, I think we can bind, but variables, I think we cannot bind with the template level.
Okay. So first name here I have declared first name and assigned value Amit Kumar. Is it variable or property?
Variable.
Okay, fine. So as per Irfan, he is saying we cannot bind, but here I have bind. Here I can bind. Here I can bind also. First name. Here I can bind, right? Here I can bind first name. It will not give error, and it will display. Basically, this is a variable also, and this is a property also. It can, but there is a difference. What is the difference? We'll talk. So if we declare the variable, we can assign the value, right? Directly. We can do the only assignment. Is there anything we can do?
No.
No. But using property, we can do some modifications also, and we can do some transformation also. If you remember the Apex development there, and using Visual Force page, we make use of getter setter, get set. But if you don't know the logic behind it, the getter setter, it will be very tough to understand here. But if you remember the logic behind the getter setter, it will be very easy to understand here also. So basically, if I tell you variables and properties are same, but properties gives you some extra power. In property, we can do some modifications and we can do some transformation also. For example, this is a first name I have assigned, and let's see here. I am removing as of now my this. I have binded here. My name is first name. We know how we bind the variable in the template between the curly braces first name, right? Here I have assigned first name Amit Kumar. Let's see. Okay. My name is Amit Kumar. Let me remove. So here I have input text. So ignore this. So here you can see my name is below the input text, right? There is a text. My name is Amit Kumar. Here it is getting displayed. My name is Amit Kumar, right? But if I want to do some modifications on this variable, or we want do some validation, we can make use of getter and setter. We can do same things in getter and setter, but getter is used to get the value, setter is used to set the value. Now let's see the example of getter. So here, so to make so how we declare getter just before the function name. Here is a name, and before the function, if you prefix the get keyword, it becomes the getter. Name get. And inside the getter, you write the logic. If the first name equal to Amit Kumar, then you print then you do some transformation. Convert into uppercase, else into lowercase. Can you do this here? Can you do this here?
No.
Right.
No.
So that is where getter and setter comes into the picture. Means what we can let remove this from here. I am commenting this. Don't. And what I am doing, I am binding first name. And on change and input text, there is a on change event. I am calling on name change method, right? And in the first name, I am assigning whatever I am typing on the in the input text, and it will change the value first name same, right? We can also do like this, this dot first name equal to this dot first name dot to uppercase. Let's see. So you can see that whatever I am typing, it is converted into uppercase. Why? Because here what I am doing, whatever I am typing, here I am getting into from event.target.value means on whatever we are typing in the input text, it is coming here, and I am converting this first name means this first name into uppercase and assigning it to the same. So without making use of property, we can also do the same, but every time we have to do this. For example, this is one method. During the program, there can be n number of places where we are doing the changes on this variable, right? And we have to explicitly call this line every time. But if you don't want to do this, what we can do, we can make a getter function. We can make a getter function, right? And inside getter function, we can put the logic. If what I here I have also put some logic also. I can directly return to the uppercase. What I have put logic here. If the first name equal to Amit Kumar, then it will show in uppercase. Otherwise, it will show lowercase. So during the program execution, anywhere this variable will get changed, the getter will call automatically. You don't write this logic every time. I have shown one example here, right? But there are complex screen. There are so many logics running, and during those execution, there can be n number of places from where we are changing this first name. So, but if we make use of getter can take care of this. So what getter is doing? It is validating. It is also validating, and it is also transforming also. It is also validating and also transforming. Let's see the example. We can do same thing setter also. Amit, like Kumar. So whatever I am typing, it is showing in lowercase only. But if I type Amit Kumar, why it is not? Let me check.
Variable name is first name.
Oh, yes. Here it will be name.
Name.
Yes. So on the load of the component, it is showing Amit Kumar in caps. Why? Because the default value of first name is Amit Kumar, and in the condition it is mentioned Amit Kumar. So if you see the sequence of the method, let's see. Connected callback, getter called, getter also called, right? Getter after connected callback, getter called. Get right? Why it get called? Because we are binding this value, this getter variable on the HTML. So when getter is fired, if we are binding this value on the HTML and HTML is rendering, or if you are accessing this value, this getter variable in anywhere in the JS file also. So getter, for just remember simple thing, getter is used to return the data. So wherever we are using the variable, it will get run. So on the load, why getter method get called? Because we are binding this getter variable on the HTML file. So getter get called, and since the value of this variable first name is Amit Kumar, then this return uppercase. Now let's change. Sorry, I have to remove every time. Because it will get called every time. So now it is showing in lowercase. Now again, if I type Amit Kumar, why it is not showing in this dot first name, Amit Kumar. This dot first name. Have I deployed? Yes, I think I was writing K in a small, that's why. Right, it is K is capital. So then I typed Amit Kumar, right? You can see that it is now in caps. Means you are saying getter is getting called automatically behind the scene. Means whenever the first name value is getting changed, the getter is getting called and doing some validation and transformation also. This cannot be done using simple variable. In simple variable, we can just assign the values. Are you getting this example? Are you getting this point?
Sir, when getter method is being called, when name is being called.
So, sorry. Yeah,
When
getter, yeah, name here I have binded name, na, right? So since I am changing the first name value from here, right? First name, right? And the getter is returning the right. Getter will track everything. If the first name get changed, it will return according to that value. We don't need to explicitly right assign the first means here we don't need to take we don't need to worry about the uh, uh, what I can say. We don't need to worry about the changes of the first name. The getter will take care of all the things. It will return automatically.
Okay.
Means in the input we are changing, and in the event method, in this method, I am changing the first name value, right? So getter will run automatically and return, right? Why? Because we are changing the first name value. Let's see by using alert. So on the load, getter called after the connected callback. If you see getter called after the connected callback, it get called. Why it get called? Because we have access this variable. Let me remove this. Let's see getter is getting called or not. No. So if you see, getter did not get called. Why? Because we are not accessing the getter variable from anywhere. Now I have put. Getter means just remember access. If you are accessing the getter variable, getter properties from anywhere, it get called. But from anywhere where? In the HTML file or in the JS file. Now let's see. Sorry. Now it get called. Now here I am typing. Now you can see that I am changing the value of the variable. Getter is getting called. I am changing the first name value and getter is getting automatically called because the getter is returning the first name value. So it will get called because what this is returning? Returning the first name. But can we check I am removing this line? Return null. I am just doing this key. I am not referring the first name in the getter. What will happen? Will it run? Let's see. I'm not sure. Yeah, getter called because on the load it will get called because I am accessing this now, right? Now check. No. So by seeing this example, you can easily relate that if first name is getting changed and inside the first name, because this first name is getting used in the getter function, it tracks automatically and changes and it called automatically and value is reflected on the HTML. Got this point?
Yes.
So if we see this, just it is written what we have talked about. A property is like a variable. However, we can do additional things in our code to a property value before it is accessed or returned. We can do some validations or perform some operations using properties. So I've already shown you how we can validate and how we can do some operations. Now let's see, for example, what we can do. For example, we have to let's see. No, let's talk about this. So how we bind the variables on the template, right? We can access value directly if it is primitive or object. For example, this is a primitive. Primitive means default data type of any programming model. Primitive. Default means whatever the programming model has provided. That is called primitive. String, integer, boolean, these are called primitive. So we can directly access. How? We are accessing directly here. And dot notation is used to access the property from the object. So if you see the address variable, it is not a simple variable. It is an object. It is not a simple variable. It is object. Key values: address, city, Delhi, state, Delhi, pin code. How we can access? We can access using dot notation. For example, address dot city. So here I have written dot notation is used to access the property from object. LWC does not allow computed expressions. What does it mean? Let me show you one example. For example, I have created num1 equal to 10, num2 equal to 10. Computed matlab, can I do some computation inside the template? Num1 plus num2. Can I do? No. So you see this. Template expression does not allow binary expression. So we cannot do like this. So these are the basic things to access the variables. If there is a requirement कि I have to access the variable, I have to make some operations like this. I need to print the sum of these two variables. So what I can do? What I can do कि I will create another variable sum and do num1 plus num2. We can also do like this. Sorry. Inside we can also do like this. But in getter method also we do like this. What we can do? How create getter method? Get sum, return this dot num1 plus this dot num2, and I can refer this sum is sum. So here you can see that sum is 20. It is coming. And here you can also see Delhi is coming. Why? Because I have accessed the address variable, which is of object type. Address property. You can say that address variable, and inside the address variable I have accessed the city property. Address variable is type of object, and inside that object there is a key city. There is a property city I have accessed here. Address.city. So it is displaying Delhi, and here it is displaying sum is sum 20. So you can see that using getter function we can also do some computation also. And during the program execution, wherever num1, num2 get changed, it will display accordingly. For example, let's change this dot in this method. This dot num1 equal to 50. So on the load, it will display 20. And whenever I type something in this, it will show 60. Let me remove the alert from here because it will alert every time. So now this sum is displaying 20. Now I'm doing something. So you can see that here it becomes 60. Why? Because in this method, I am changing the num1 to 50. So if I would not have used the getter function, what I have to do? I would create one variable, right? Sum. Then here I had to write this dot sum equal to this dot num1 plus this dot num2, right? This would also get work. But every time I have to, wherever I am changing this variable during the program execution, I have to call this. But if we have make use of getter, we don't, means whenever we want to change the value of the variable, you want to show some computation, you want to show some means you want to display value after some modification, after some validations, you can make use of getter and setter. Are you getting?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I will give setter example in next when we talk about public property in detail. So I will show you the example of setter also. But just remember, getter and setter are can do the same thing. So in setter you can set the value. You can some on the custom on the basis of some. For example, someone is giving something. Someone is, for example, your neighbor is giving some food in a plate, right? So now what you can do, you can add some other food also in that plate. Means when you want to set some custom, if you are getting something and you want to set some custom logic, and based on the custom logic you want to change the value of that variable, you can make use of setter. And without changing, I will tell you once we talk about public property. So I think getters we have covered. We have also covered when getter is fired, if we are accessing getters on HTML, if we are referring getters in functions or properties in JS file. We have already seen this example. Getter is getting called when we are accessing getters on HTML, and it will also get called when we are changing the value. When we are changing the value of the you can say that of the properties inside it, it also get called. And if it also get called when we, for example, if this dot name, you can also, so I am also referring this getter inside the JS file. So this will also get called also. Means this dot first name equal to whatever the value we are putting, whatever value we are typing in the input text, then it will concatenate the name, the previous value, whatever the value in the name, it will concatenate. So it will call again here from us. Means I am just trying to show you ki when getter will call, means from anywhere we are accessing, from where we can access, either from HTML, either from JS file. There is no other way, right? So getter is getting called. And when setter is called, whenever we are setting the value. So let's see the example of setter also. Let's see what happens. Generally we assign value here. So let me, well, on the basis of this, for example, I am passing uh, calling from calling setter method. So means here you can see that I am assigning the value in the name property, means setting the value, means setter will get called. Now it will alert every time, but okay, that is fine. Alert setter method called. You can see that setter method called. My name is calling setter method. So it get changed from here, right? So if you see, I have assigned, I have set the value of the name property and it changed the value of the first name. And getter is returning the first name. So I was assigned calling setter method to the name property. Setter method get called, is it assigned the value in the first name. Now getter method get called. So let me print alert here also to see the exactly how getter and setter works. So on the load, you see connected callback called and getter called, right? Why getter called? Because it is being used on HTML. Now I am typing in input text. On input text, I am calling one method, right? So inside method, if you see, I am setting the oh sorry, I am also accessing the this dot name. That's why getter called first. If you see, I am referring this dot name. So that getter called. Again, setter method called. Again getter called, because setter method change the value of the variable, right? Now the value is setter method. Setter, my name is calling setter method. Yeah, calling setter method. Calling setter method. Are you able to relate this? I hope getter setter you are clear. We make use of getter setter, means we make use extensively use of getter setter. I hope and we understand the logic behind the getter setter, when we can use getter setter, and right, what we can do in getter setter, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think if we use in Apex, then it will be, I think, more clarity will then I think. Now understanding the basic understanding is clear now.
Right. uh, I can show you in the Apex, if you want to just we can just finish the session in next 10 minutes only. Call variable property. Here also I have created, let me show you. Same thing I have created getter setter. So in Apex you create like this. You also create like public integer counter, then get set, and that's. And if you want to do, means if you see this line, this is basically you can see that it's a variable, right? And it has it has getter setter, right? Getter setter. Inside the getter setter also you can define the access level. For example, if you define public and if you define private also. This is also if you means this means ki you this variable can be accessed publicly but can be set within the class only. So these all things are there in the Apex also. So I think you must be knowing this. So how we can make use of property. So for example, if I make it private and set it public. Let me check, is it running or not? Counter 1, counter 2. Let me remove this line. Means first variable counter 1 means this is this access file for variable counter 1 is public, but it access level means you can see that get accessor and set accessor. You can also define access level on accessor also. This is called get accessor and set accessor. So on get accessor you have defined public, and for set accessor you define private. Means outside the class no one can set this variable. So depending upon the law, means depending upon your scenario, you can make use of getter setter also. So there are the access level inside also. So if you know the Apex getter setter correctly, so you can, there is no difference between LWC getter setter. This is the same thing, right? Same thing. There is a let's talk about when we talk about public property in detail, then we can relate this example in LWC also, right? So I think we are clear about getter setter. So we completed life cycle hook, variables binding, right? And template if template directive, we can make use of so hide the content on the basis of some conditions using if true if false directive. We see the use of we see the use of uh, getter setter also. I can show you one more example you can relate. For example, I have created array. What will be the array? For example, color. Red, blue. Now I want to see the red value, means the value on the first index, means first value means zeroth index onto the HTML. How can I do that? Can anyone explain? In any language, you have used VF page also, maybe Aura also. How we can display the first value here?
Color 0.
Okay, fine. I am putting color 0.
Zero index. Yeah.
So how like this, right? Sorry, this will display like, right? Color 0. It will. So how we
Yeah, it will
bind the
sort of
variable
just.
inside the curly braces, between the curly braces, right? in the template, we bind the variable between the curly braces, then it will get displayed, right? So we want to show the red value means array first index value means first value on the template on the HTML, how it can be done. So as you remember, we told key,
Yes, it's primitive and object only.
yeah, we can directly access primitive or object only, and we cannot access from array using this syntax. Means if you see this way, LWC does not allow computed expressions. This is also a computed means you are doing some operations, num1 plus num2, or you are trying to access some from the index. So this is not valid. This is not. I think in VA page it is allowed. If you remember VA page, we can access it like this. But in LWC it does not. There comes, this is another example of, you can see that getter. Make use, what we can do, get color name, this dot color 0. Now it can be done. Got it?
Yes,
Means what I have done, make use of getter. I have created one getter function. What is getter is basically a function. Function prefix the function name with get keyword. It will become a getter function. Now inside the getter function, we can, as we discussed, we can do some operations, we can do some modifications, we can do some validations also. So what we are doing some operations. We are accessing the array 0th index value. Now we can see color is red. Here it is displaying color is red. So these are the scenario, means these are the basic things I'm telling you. But now if you face any scenario like this, you can really make use of getter setter. You can know how, when I can use getter, when I can use setter, right? When I can use directly variable. Should I make use of getter or setter or not? So you can decide. Now from this class, you can decide should I make use of variable, should I make use of getter setter. You can decide from here, right? So I hope we can conclude this session. If there is any questions, we can discuss. If there is any question, anyone?
my side.
Sorry.
No question, sir. Clear.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Akshay, Anil sir, Irfan, right? Any question?
No sir, इसकी practice करेंगे तो मगर से
नहीं
बहुत
sir.
clarity मिलेगी.
Okay. ठीक है. I'm telling you again, if you don't practice, you will be confused. Even I am also get confused. If I don't practice for a month or 2 months, I will also get confused. So be in practice. But yeah, if you do the practice, you remember if you remember the basic things, you will not get confused. That is for sure. So just remember these basic things, so you will not get confused any time. So that's it for today. We can connect tomorrow at the same time, 9 p.m. and we can discuss about decorators. We can discuss about decorators like track, @API, and @wire. So we can discuss about these three decorators in detail. Okay, that's it. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.